Bill Scheft, as our program bio says, has been a writer for David Letterman going back to Letterman's days in NBC. Bill has been writing correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, writing opening monologues, top 10 lists, and other jokes for the guy who, for my money, defined late-night television for my generation. Bill is also the author of 3 absolutely terrific comic novels, including Time Won't Let Me, which was a finalist for the 2006 Thurber Prize for American Humor. His book, Everything Hurts, I've got a copy of it on my chair there, is the story of a guy who has been limping around for months in constant pain that no doctor can explain. I've been that guy, and I read Bill's book while I was laid up with my latest back injury last summer. I've got an awful back. If you know me, you know that. I was playing in an adult soccer league with a bunch of 20-somethings. Me and a Nigerian lawyer were going for the same ball. She won. She was good. I tumbled, and my season was over. So I was laid up with more back problems. Laying down, I read Everything Hurts, and the main characters grumbling and complaining were the best medicine I could have gotten. It was terrific. You know, on the cover of the book, you'll see it out there during the signing afterwards. On the cover of the book, there's a blurb from Larry David, creator of Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, among other things, lots of stuff. Well, it turns out that Larry, Bill, and I all have something in common: pain. Larry writes, "I've lived this story in real life, though mine wasn't nearly as funny, poignant, or compelling as his. On the other hand, I believe I'm much better looking than the fellow in the book and could probably take him in a fight." Bill, do you have any idea how much money you could make on pay-per-view for a fight between you and Larry David? Just a humble suggestion. Well, I'm not as good looking as Bill, I'm not nearly as funny as Bill, and I suspect I'm not in as much pain as Bill either. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Scheft.
Wow. Thanks, Matt, for whipping them into a frenzy. Okay. Here's the book, Everything Hurts. All right, great. It's a business trip now. Terrific. Okay. I flew in today from New York on U.S. Airways. I had a direct flight out of LaGuardia, which you know is rare because usually there's a layover in the Hudson with U.S. Airways, so I was happy about that. Before we begin, we got to do this. Congratulations to the University of Dayton Flyers NIT 2010 champs. Come on. Absolutely. I can only imagine the pride you must feel to have the 66th best team in the nation. It's unbelievable. Can we, how many of you saw Gail Collins at lunch today? Wow. I thought she was a little too funny, a little too funny and charming. This is going to be tough, but unfortunately, here's what happened. After they hired Gail to speak, there was no money left in the budget. And so it was either me or Dave Barry, urologist. And I'm a little cheaper than Dave Barry, urologist. So I would be remiss if I did not pay tribute to the woman who is responsible for us being here, Erma Bombeck. I had the pleasure of sitting with her family. And at lunch today, for those of you that were at lunch, at each table, there was a card at each table with a memorable quote from Erma Bombeck. And at my table, and I love this, it said, a friend will tell you she saw your old boyfriend and he's a priest. And I read that and thought, well, maybe not these days, A little different now, Guy goes into confession, says, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned," and the priest says, "You've sinned." This reminds me, and of course this reminds me because it's next. A couple of years ago, I spoke at the Hartford Writers Conference. I can't remember the symposium. I think it was something like, "Is My Mother My Type?" I'm not sure what it was. I don't remember. But I did my presentation, and afterwards, an older woman came up to me. She was very excited, and she said to me, are you the writer that used to be the priest? And I laughed, and I said, no. She says, no, yeah, Bill Scheft. You're the writer that used to be a priest. I said, I don't know how to break this to you, ma'am. I am relentlessly Jewish. I am the farthest thing from a priest or a former priest that you could be. She said, no, you're the writer that used to be a priest. I said, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't. She storms off. I talk with a couple other people. Comes back waving the program from the Hartford Writers Conference. Opens it to my bio. At the bottom of my bio is a line I've been using for years. It says, Bill Scheft is a graduate of Harvard University, where he majored in Latin because he thought the church was going to come back. And I said, well, that's just a joke. And she said, no, the church is coming back, and stormed off. And so these are the type of people I tend to run into. And I am Jewish. I'm from a large Jewish family. There was never enough guilt to go around. And what did Erma say? Guilt, the gift that keeps on giving, right? Isn't that right? I'm from a very liberal Jewish family. My parents believed in the Ten Commandments, but they believed you could pick 5. We were very liberal. What can I tell you? My father was in the retail shoe business for 30 years, and my mother was a stay-at-home narcissist. And one time I said to my mother, Mom, how about a little unconditional love? And she said to me, I'll show you unconditional love when you've earned it. And, you know, here's the difference between my parents. A few years ago, they went on a trip to Israel. They come back. I'm talking to my mother on the phone. I said, how was the trip to Israel? And she said to me, not only was it inspirational, it was educative. I'll give you some time to look that up. And you won't find that word. Educative. All right, we talked for a little while. I said, put Dad on the phone. My father gets on the phone. I said, Dad, and here's the difference between them. Dad, how was the trip to Israel? He said, oh, I had a piece of melon in Tel Aviv. You wouldn't believe it. It was orange, but you would taste it like a... So that's the difference. My first novel, I grew up in Boston. My first novel, The Ringer, came out in 2002. And I was lucky enough to get a reading at a big bookstore in Boston. And I was very excited about it. And so I said to my mom, who was 80 at the time, I said, do you want to introduce me at the reading? That would be I kind of get a kick out of that. I'd love to. I'm going to do for you now the entire text of my mother's introduction of me. Gets behind the microphone and says, and then when he was 6, he used to dance around the living room singing, I enjoy being a girl, here's Billy. Did I mention I was in my 3rd decade of therapy? Did I mention that at all? I was a stand-up comic for 13 years, and if I had to describe my stand-up, that was the last time I was in Dayton. I played the club in Dayton, I think probably around 1985. I think it was called Jokers or Gangway for Laughs or whatever it was called, and Grouchos, whatever those names were. And I was a stand-up comic for 13 years, and if I had to describe my career as a stand-up, it was a lot like my bar mitzvah, because it was a very small audience. There was nobody in the audience that could actually help my career. Nobody understood a word I was saying, and everybody made more money than I did. So it was, and then I became I turned my attention to comedy writing, and basically because I never got used to the notion with stand-up of the inconsistency of response. I never could get used to that. So I decided, why don't I'm just going to write. But here's the deal when you change from performing in front of live people to just writing. That does not mean people are going to stop not getting it. I'll give you 2 examples. In the late 90s, I did a piece for a George magazine. It was a humorous essay. It was George magazine, and the piece was, it was a conspiracist view of American history in 600 words. Okay, so that was the piece. Now, back then at George magazine, everybody that worked at George magazine was a 23-year-old woman who had either just finished having sex with JFK Jr. or was about to have sex with JFK. That was the entire staff. So I turned my piece in. A couple days later, I get a phone call, and, hello, this is Dee Dee, the fact checker. Hello, Dee Dee. I just read your piece. I said, yeah. I just have one question. Okay. Is it a known, documented fact that John Hancock died without life insurance? I go, Dee Dee, honey, that's a joke. Okay, so that was. Around that same time, I was lucky enough to have a piece published in the New Yorker in Shouts and Murmurs, and it was called Jerry Springer's Voicemail. And this was based on, I saw Jerry Springer, this was at the height of his show's popularity, and I saw him, and he was on Larry King when Larry was still alive. And Jerry Springer said that he got 5,000 calls a day from people who wanted to be on his show. So I thought, this is a great idea for a piece. I just do these messages left on his answering machine, people that want to get him. And the piece was stuff like, hello, Jerry, does your show still do makeovers? My son is a Nazi skinhead. I'd like you to turn him into a Republican congressman. He's a 44 Husky. They were all like that. Piece comes out. The day it comes out, I get a call from the New Yorker. There's a guy desperately trying to get in touch with you. I go, fine, give him my home number. 5 minutes later, the phone rings. I go, hello? The guy says, yeah, hi, do you know me? I said, no, you called me. The guy says, I just read your piece in the New Yorker. I'm so excited because you used the name Martin Resnick in your piece. I said, yeah, I think it's a funny sounding name. He said, no, but Martin Resnick, that's the name of my father-in-law. I say, terrific. He says, no, wait. The other thing is, the issue is dated March 9th. Yeah. Well, that's my wife and my wedding anniversary. So I was wondering if you did all this as kind of a tribute to me and my wife. I said to him, look, I don't know you. I've never met you. I think the name Resnick is funny. Long pause. Now the guy realizes that perhaps he's been a little grandiose. So he says to me, what do you like, a writer? So these are the people I seem to run into.